We're told the main auditorium where Trump will be speaking seats about 3,500 people.
I've never seen anything like it in my life. There's so much passion. Exactly, it's passion, energy.
It's Thursday lunchtime, but it feels like Saturday night. The place is absolutely packed. There were lines around the block. Sort of similar scenes to the ones we saw at the Bernie Sanders rally, but a very different crowd.
The next president of the United States, Mr. Donald J. Trump.
He's got to get us going again. He's got good ideas.
The country's in bad shape, awful bad shape. We got to pull it back out of the fire.
Mexico is a mini China right now. If you look at the automobile industry, what's going on in Mexico is incredible.
We're getting aluminum from China. We don't need aluminum from China. Hell, we make it right here.
You're not just going to go to another country, make your product, sell it across our really weak borders, because our borders are going to be so strong, folks. Our borders will be so strong. Believe me.
As the song goes, if you start him up, he'll never stop. You don't have to ramble on, but the point at which he's the most coherent and punchy, it's not actually about the stuff that's made him notorious. Most of all, he's talking about jobs, and he's talking about companies leaving America, and it plays brilliantly with these people.
Fair and balanced.
It's now Indiana's turn to decide.
This is Indianapolis. Downtown, just over there, it seems to be a city that's doing okay. You drive for 5 or 10 minutes and you pretty quickly encounter scenes like this. Vacant sites, closed down factories. Over the last 25 years, this place has lost about a third of its manufacturing jobs, and it's about to lose 1,400 more.
The best way to stay competitive and protect the business for long term is to move production from our facility in Indianapolis to Monterrey, Mexico.
This was the moment 1,400 steelworkers who made furnaces for air conditioning units for a company called Carrier found out their jobs were being moved to Mexico. It played straight into one of Donald Trump's key themes, that free trade is destroying American jobs. And he quickly took the Carrier story on as a big campaign issue.
It's the end of the day shift at the Carrier plant. 4:30, all these people are coming out. Face of it is the most ordinary scene imaginable, and yet it has a real sort of potency about it. Because this is a ritual most of these people ain't going to be doing much longer. Tell me how long you've worked here.
I've been here 14 years next month, and I was probably going to work here 25 years. I definitely wanted to get 20 years here. You know, I'm 55 years old. I mean, 10 to 12 more years and I'd have been retired, and now I'm going to be out there looking for a job at 55 years old. I mean, you know.
This thing, the American dream people talk about, did you believe that back in the day? This was a country that could deliver to its people.
Oh yeah. You know, my parents both of them was able to retire, you know, pretty well. I mean, they're living a pretty good retirement and stuff, and they got nice homes. You know, they got their pensions and all that stuff, and they're having a nice retirement. But it isn't like that for this generation here, for my generation. All that's being taken away. You know, the American dream is not there any longer.
We've come to a rally organised by the United Steelworkers Union in defence of the jobs at Carrier. For them, the political attention being paid to their story and bigger issues about jobs and trade deals have been a source of hope.
So good old Donald Trump says he somehow owns the story of the Carrier plant and what's happening here in Indianapolis. There's only one inconvenience. Trade union who are representing the workers at the heart of that story have endorsed someone else. Who are you voting for?
Who are we? Steelworkers!
This is very umphy and visceral. It's also fiercely patriotic. Look at that. Make it in America. Gets you to the heart of that awkward sort of political intersection between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump.
This is a fight about what type of America our children and our grandchildren is going to inherit.
We have more and more companies leaving America, you know, people worried about putting food on the table.
We want somebody to stand up for the working families.
The working class.
The working class?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
That's us.
Donald Trump says he's going to do that, right? He goes on and on about this stuff.
No.
Donald Trump's full of shit.
Donald Trump's full of shit.
I can't trust that man.
We got any Bernie supporters here today, Lewis?
policy of unfettered free trade have been a disaster for the people of the United States.
I loved hearing Bernie. I mean, well, everybody that spoke today, they were speaking the truth. It's what's happening in America today.
For the last 35 years in this country, the great middle class of America, once the beacon of hope for the entire world, they looked at us. That great middle class has been disappearing, and it is worse here than in almost any major country on earth.
The gentleman that lives here, he works for Carrier. He's been there for 15 years. The people who live over towards the blue house across from the van, she's been there 16 years.
There's an obvious sign of things not being as they should be. All this lawn's overgrown. No one has lived in this house for quite some time.
We had a bad crash here a few years ago. A lot of the homes got foreclosed on. Factories closing, loss of jobs.
Is this going to affect how you feel about the election and how you vote in November?
I'm looking at it pretty strong right now, yeah. I want to keep the American jobs here and try to get a lot of our jobs back from overseas back over here.
And so who are you thinking about voting for come November?
I'm not saying right now.
If I say the word Trump, let me see what happens to your face.
Well, I like some of his views. Some of his views I don't like.
Right. How do you feel looking into the future of America right now?
It's there ain't much to say about it. Ain't what it used to be, that's for sure.
You're going to vote in November?
Oh, no.
You don't vote?
No. There's nobody worth voting for. There's not a real good candidate.
Donald Trump goes on and on about factories closing and making America great again.
He might actually be able to do something with something. Who knows?
I got to be honest, we sort of pulled into this neighbourhood, which is only 2 or 3 minutes from the Carrier factory, and I thought, oh well, this isn't going to be the story. This is a sort of affluent, comfortable part of town. But it turns out that's not the case as far as that woman sees it. She says it's gone to rack and ruin, more and more people private renting, there's people losing their jobs, no one knows who the neighbours are anymore, drug deals going on the street. She says the American dreams are increasingly a sick joke. That's really what this election's all about.
The entire country is looking to the state of Indiana.
Hey, Indianapolis, you ready for a political revolution?
This is where a lot of things are getting decided today. This is what the Americans call a polling place. It's in the same neighbourhood as the Carrier factory.
You will sign there for me, and I need you to pick a ballot.
As an ignorant English person, right, just explain how this all works.
In the primary, you have to pick Democratic or Republican. So I'll ask you which party you prefer for your ballot. And I always tell people it doesn't make you a Democrat if you pick a Democratic ballot. If you're interested, you can do that. If you want to be Republican for today, you can do that too.
Do you make your mind up when you get here which party you are? And what's your sense of the issues that are in people's minds?
I think people are thinking a lot about free trade. I think especially this side of town. I think people are thinking a lot about the economy. There have been a lot of job losses.
Who did you vote for? Trump. You voted for Trump?
Yes.
Oh, you say jobs and immigration, maybe I think Donald Trump.
Maybe you couldn't think that.
Okay, that's interesting. What kind of issues were in your mind?
Jobs, outsourcing.
Outsourcing means moving your operations abroad to other countries.
Correct,
right?
and bringing jobs back to our country.
I just feel like Donald Trump, he's saying what the people are wanting, you know.
And if people in England think he's a little crazy?
Yeah, well, I think he is a little crazy. I think he is a little crazy, but that's what it's going to take to undo what Barack Obama's done.
I hate the way he talks about women, but I love the way he handles things.
You don't think he's a crazy egomaniac, ill-suited to the job of Commander-in-Chief?
But I think all of them are. But do I want the rest of them in there? No. So I'm trying to pick the best of the evils.
Though Trump supporters can be shy at first, finding them at the polling place is easy. And round the corner at the Carrier plant, though the noise from the union is pro-Bernie, when you speak to some of the workers individually, you find people who've gone the other way.
I think it's about half and half in there probably. I just had a conversation with my coworker that works next to me, and she was telling me to make sure you go vote for Bernie today, and I was like, no, I'm going Trump. And she, what?
Trump?
Yeah.
Why?
We need somebody that's tough. I was all for Obama the first time around, his first election, and he let me down. I felt like he was a pushover. and he let people behind the curtains pretty much lead him. And I don't think Trump will do that. If he can't stop Carrier from going, I hope he can stop future companies from doing the same thing. I mean, there's 1,400 people there, out of jobs.
Occasionally I meet people who vote for candidates like Trump, and I say, well, maybe they're no friend of the American worker. Or...
No, I don't know that Trump is a big union guy. I know Bernie is.
And he's one of the 1%. He's a rich fella.
Yep.
Because that sort of person, given half a chance, just wants to crush organised labour as soon as they can.
Yeah, he's talked about it before. I imagine Bernie's not a bad guy, but I think he's like Obama almost. He'll be a pushover, I think. He says he's tough, but Trump just shows toughness, and I love that. I've got to go with my gut, I guess. And I just hope he's not a pushover like the rest.
You know, people have this idea that Donald Trump's a fascist, and maybe they then apply that to all the people voting for him. A lot of the people we've met aren't like that at all. Brad there, he's just, been backed into a corner, and he thinks the one candidate who shows the most signs of fighting for him is Trump. There are much more credible figures who should have been standing up for American workers who were asleep on the job. That probably includes Hillary Clinton. But for one reason and another, she's the person most likely to be facing off against Trump in November. At that point, things really are going to get messy. Until fairly recently, you'd have said a sight like this was unexpected. The fact is becoming increasingly familiar. A huge crowd of people queuing up to hear a radical politician from outside the political establishment. But I have to say, this is something else again.